Hello, this is Truth Be Told Transformation, and I'm Bonnie Burkert, here to share tools for transformation to live your highest truth. One thing that's true for me is that I've always been very interested in Chinese mysticism and metaphysics. It started with acupuncture and herbs, and we've had Chinese herbalists on in the past, but we're going to take it to another level and mix it in with the oracles and really practical applications of learning around the Chinese 5 elements. So with that, I would love to introduce Vicki Iskandar.
Thank you for having me today.
Hi, Vicki. Thank you. I'm just so interested. You've got such an incredible background. I mean, you, like me, you pursued the business world for a little while. And what made you transition into becoming a new author of an upcoming oracle deck?
Well, I knew since I started writing professionally, and that was in 2000, that I wanted to have a book one day in the future. But it just doesn't really, but that's something that that's a thought that came and then you just forget about it. So I grew up in a traditional Chinese family in Indonesia, where Chinese astrology is part of the culture. With people, we know people by their year of animal signs instead of by their year of birth. So as a child and a teenager, I would really, I just really love getting readings from Chinese astrologers, and my mom would take me to many places getting readings because that's something that she loved too. It just runs in the family. So, but it was one day, it wasn't until mid-2000 that I had a reading that changed my life, and it was a reading of Chinese astrology of my natal chart based on the 5 elements. It's called the 4 Pillars Astrology, which is the most popular form of astrology. It's called Patu in Asia. And I learned that we have favorable elements and unfavorable elements, and the more we work with the elements, especially working with the favorable ones, the more opportunities open up. So that reading basically taught me what my favorable and unfavorable elements are, and I started living it basically. So
fantastic.
Yeah, and doors start opening up basically. And if the 5 elements are all over us, I mean, we're all...
Let's talk about those. Yeah, please tell us what the 5 elements are and how they would apply in our lives in a reading. Mm-hmm. So let's go down the list.
So let's start with the production cycle, since it always starts with wood.
Okay.
It's considered the first in the 5 element cycle. So wood is the element of growth, and it's the element of spring. So spring months are wood season, and it's associated with expansion, with growth, and it has a creative upward energy associated with planet Jupiter.
Okay.
And in terms of action, it's basically when we're learning, when we're growing, we're doing wood stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And trees, and in nature, woods is the woods, trees and flowers. The color green, the colors of flowers can also be considered wood. So, and also it's the element of anger. And compassion. So there's the high frequency and then the low frequency. And then wood produces fire. So fire is the element of summer, and it's associated with the sun, with planet Mars, and the energy it radiates. It's like the sunlight. So, and it's the element of joy. Mm. So we're doing a lot of fire element stuff when we're acting from a place of love and a place of joy, passion, from the heart.
Yeah,
passion and the heart.
Interesting. As you're describing it, I'm thinking of maybe Western astrology and some of, not even astrology, but Western applications of the elements. So it's fun. It's fun to see the correlations.
Yeah, especially with the planets, and
also the planets.
And actually started metaphysics with Western astrology. So knowing about the planets actually gave me better information on the elements too.
Okay. So would that be a Mars correlation?
Yeah, with the sun, because it's also energy, but it's also the heart. So
interesting.
And color red.
Yeah. And red. Okay, so it's similar to Western.
Similar, but not not like exactly. Yeah. And fire produces earth. So earth is associated with Mother Earth or mountains and soil and color brown and also planet Saturn. So earth is the element that actually grounds us, and we need that earth element to manifest. So whereas we learn from wood, and then we follow our passion with fire element, we really need the earth element to manifest the passion into reality.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's the element of peace. So when we're doing a lot of earth stuff, we're more meditative. Like meditation is an earth element activity, and it's calming and grounding, centering, because earth is the center. The earth element is in the center. There's no direction to it. It's just centering.
Okay.
So earth produces metal. And metal, I find that metal is the most misunderstood element, especially in the Western world, and it's also the most lacking. And I think it's because metal itself is the element of mystery.
Okay.
It's the element of spirit. It's the element of self-reflection, and it's associated with fall. So earth, I didn't mention earth, but earth is in terms of the season, but earth is the in-between element. So earth transitions us from one season to another.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because there's 5 elements, but there's only 4 seasons. So that's okay.
Yeah, and in between season there's earth. And metal is the element of the fall, and it's also element of spirit and also element of grief. And metal produces water. So water is the element of wisdom, but then it's also the element of fear. So at on one side we have fire as the element of joy, and then water is the element of fear. So and I see that's how I feel that love is the opposite of fear. Because fire is the opposite of water.
Yes.
So
all right.
Yeah, and water is the most yin of the elements, and it's the color black, and the water energy is very receptive because water basically fills every hollow. So that's water.
Interesting. Okay. That's great. So that's a really good foundation. And again, your deck is the Chinese 5 Elements Oracle deck, and coming out on Hay House. So you've explained to us when we pull cards and get that reading, you've explained those elements, but then we've also are weaving in the animals that we associate with Chinese astrology. Is that correct? So when we hear about the year of the dragon, the year of the ram, the year of, right? So these are all represented as well.
Right.
So it's why don't you take us through the deck? What my pause was, I was thinking to myself, well, if I'm a wood dragon, how does that affect a card that I pull? But I think that's getting a little more complicated.
Well, this is how the cards come in handy. I mean, and also basically the card is designed for anyone to be able to use it. So someone can use it. Someone without knowledge of Chinese astrology can use it.
Great.
And they can just, let's say this is the wood dragon, and it's actually one of my favorite cards because
I'm pretty impressed that you were able to find that out of a deck of 60 cards, correct, which are beautiful. Let's see, I haven't had a chance to look at my card yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so just as an example, but I want you to do an official reading for everybody. This is my reading right now, everybody. So tell us a little bit about what the wood dragon, what's the meaning of that?
Well, the thing is, you can... Each pillar says a lot. So the wood dragon itself is basically it's a very leadership kind of pillar, because young wood. This is the young manifestation of wood. So each of the 5 elements can be either yin or yang. Okay. So a young element. So this is young wood. Usually, it always has to be accompanied by a young animal. So the dragon is also a young earth animal. So the pillar itself is composed of young wood, and which is about leadership, about community spirit, and then the dragon is a young earth animal, which is very mysterious. And just the dragon is a powerful sign. So as a dragon, you are you get to manifest, because earth, as I say, is the element of manifestation. So for a dragon, it's actually very it's natural to manifest what you want to do because it's just you just find it easy.
Getting my way.
And then just because next year is the wood dragon, that's it. And then this is also one way you can read the card if you know more about Chinese metaphysics is you can mix it with what's going on in the world. So let's say you get a wood dragon card and then the wood dragon is coming next year, which it is. And it basically reinforces how important next year is. And especially,
so 2024. So this is a little forecast that the elements. Let me make sure that I understand that. But the properties of the wood dragon would affect everybody in the same way anybody is doing a reading with these cards and pulls up this wood dragon. The aspects, the qualities that you just described would apply to your situation or the feelings that you're having, the emotions that you're dealing with. So the qualities of the wood dragon would thus apply. And then you're giving us also an overview of 2024, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And some of those aspects will be happening for us and hopefully in a good way.
Well, and also, I find that the wood dragon, for me, and then I've heard from other people too who've been using the cards, that the wood dragon is the card that keeps popping out. So it's telling you that, it's going to be a significant year for the wood dragon year.
All right.
And especially for a wood dragon like you, because that will be, and this is how pulling this card, if you pull this card and then you are a wood dragon, and it has a special meaning for you. It even reinforces.
Right, I see.
Reinforces the theme of the wood dragon, and the theme here is you have the strength. So you really, whatever you want to do, next year is the year to do it because you have the strength to do it. You're being called to step up.
No pressure.
Yes.
No pressure. All right. Well, we'll be checking in and you can let me know how I'm doing. So we've spoken about, this is great, and thank you for giving me a little read because I feel like you were telling me some of, about my sign. But really the point is you have created these cards that when we work with divination, mm-hmm. And you might want to share a little bit about centering and getting to the right question. This is an opportunity for I think a great amount of detail to be revealed.
For any oracle, I think it's always advisable to approach it when you're in a stable, calm mind.
Yeah.
But especially with this oracle, I just feel because we're working with the elements, you also want to tune in to the elements around you and in you. Because the 5 elements are around us and in us. So you want to check in with yourself, see how you're feeling. And then you want to check in with outside, if it's raining or storming. If it's like a little drizzling, I think that's nice. It's kind of soothing, right? But if it's storming or it's just extra windy, then it's probably not a good time because the nature is not really stable.
That's really interesting, Vicki, because you mentioned that as well as one other thing in the booklet that comes with the deck, which I'm just showing you. It's, very generous information. And some of the things that you mention in it, one of the things was that you don't recommend, in addition to what you just said about the climates and what's happening, because I do get that when it's windy, like I get if we have these crazy winds here in Southern California, the Santa Anas, and I find myself very, very nervous during that time. Mm-hmm. And so that makes sense. It's not grounded. But you also mentioned that maybe during the new moon and the full moon are not optimal times. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people associate those times as, magical times. So explore what is coming up. So I'd love to hear your point of view on this.
And that's also something to do with extreme yin and extreme yang.
Okay.
You want to avoid extremes. Like you really want to be doing this when yin and yang are mostly in balance.
Yes.
And when full moon is very yang and new moon is very yin, so it's a lot of yin, a lot of darkness, and then full moon is a lot of light. So and it's also, it's also basically you also want to. It's kind of like yoga, right? Like you don't want to do those practices. Like if you're in Ashtangi yoga, you don't want to do the practices. And it's almost for the same reason, basically. So, but it's mostly because of the yin and yang, the extremes. So, you just want to do this when everything is in balance. And to me, actually, if you're feeling good, if the day feels good, and the thing is with the full moon especially, we tend to be more emotional.
Sure, yeah. It's very amped up. And, it's just, that is a very interesting point, because I feel like there's an illumination that could be great to bring forth information, right? Which is what these cards can do for us. I mean, they're a tool, and yet at the same time, I don't know. Maybe you're just it's maybe too much energy.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think it's just respectful to just, I think it's nice to just, let's just take a break. Take a break from the oracle and just go into yourself during full moon and new moon.
Interesting, right? And just listen to your own, or probably
listen to your own intuition, because this is actually, especially new moon, your intuition is really strong.
Yeah, because that is the yin time, the more inward, calm, quiet.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to think about, and I bring up the yin and yang a lot. I love talking about the duality of everything, and people having to understand that. And I've certainly had lessons along the way that maybe we're not always going to be happy all the time. There's going to be a time that it's got a counter. There's got to be a counterbalance to it.
Well, it's the nature of yin and yang, and that's why also the pillars themselves, they're in order. So it's yang turns into yin turns into yang. So like, let's say the order starts with the wood rat.
Okay.
And the wood rat here is, so yang wood is considered the first in the cycle, and the rat is the first animal.
Okay.
And it's a yang pillar. And the wood rat is followed by the wood ox. And this is a yin pillar. So it's a yin wood and a yin ox. So and then the yin turns into yang again. So it's a cycle. It's a constant. Yeah, it's a continuous cycle, and the yin always turns into yang turns into yin.
So ancient. I mean, do we have any idea how far back this astrology goes? Have you ever read anything about that?
The exact time we don't know. I mean, it's 5,000 years old or older.
Yeah. No, it's just so fascinating to think about how people figured this out. Once upon a time, and here we are still working with it and finding new ways to discover it. And this is all very new for me. Again, I've never worked with an oracle deck this way, so I'm really excited. So I'm looking at my notes because there was something that you said that I want to talk about. It was one of the lines that I pulled from the book here, stoking your inner joy.
Right.
And so let's go back to, I was making that comment about you're not always going to be super high all the time. There's going to be the low. But I'd like to hear what you have to say about that, because I like the word stoking. I feel like it's not a term that you hear all the time, and it's got a lot of implications to it. So as you're presenting the possibilities that exist in working with your cards.
Yes, so the more you work with the oracle, basically, the more you'll find that a lot of the cards are about stoking inner joy. So that's an underlying theme in a lot of the cards. I'm just trying to find a card that's very about inner joy. But a lot of the horse cards, because it's a fire sign.
Okay.
And I really wanted to stress the importance of the fire pig, of stoking your inner joy, because it's the ability to quickly shift into a state of joy is very critical in the next 20 years.
Okay.
As we enter a new cycle. So this is again going back to the wood dragon year. It's just such an important year because wood itself is the first in a 10-year cycle of the elements.
Oh, I see.
So, but it's also the first official year that we're going into a 20-year cycle that's called the Age of Nine or Period 9.
It was something I wanted to ask you about. Yes, very interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
what does that mean? What are the ages of 9?
So the Age of Nine is it's based on the flying stars feng shui. So it's part of the grand cycle of a 180-year cycle, and the Age of Nine is the last cycle of this 180-year cycle.
Okay, wow.
And it's related to the fire trigram. So which is the Li trigram. And the fire trigram is related to fire element, which is about the heart, about light, and in the trigram itself, it represents the middle sister.
Okay, interesting.
So it's a yin trigram.
I don't think I fully understand trigram. Can you explain that a little bit?
So that's
What would that?
So each direction in the Bagua, which is the feng shui map,
Okay,
is
yeah.
associated with a trigram.
Oh.
So there are 9 trigrams, and the period 9 itself is there are 8 trigrams because there's no trigram number 5. So there are 9 quas, that's what we call, so 9 directions.
Yes.
And one of the direction is the center, which is associated with number 5, and it's not associated with any trigram. So it leaves us with 8 trigram. But there's period 5. So there is the grand cycle that's about the trigram. And this cycles, the trigram, basically we're affected by the trigrams. There is a yearly cycle, there's a monthly cycle. So it's these trigrams keep moving.
Yeah.
And the trigram itself is composed of lines. So to the average eyes, it's just lines, right?
Right.
But then when you see the lines, the lines give you messages. And
The I Ching has lines too, right?
well, the I Ching is the 64 hexagrams.
Okay.
So each hexagram is composed of 2 trigrams. So the 64 hexagram is the combination of the 8 trigrams. So you get, instead of 3 lines, so a trigram has 3 lines of either yin or yang or a combination line. If you see the hexagram, right, the I Ching hexagram, it's either a solid line or a broken line. So the solid line is the yang line, and the broken line is the yin line. And that's how you know what trigram is which. So the trigram 9, which is the Age of 9 trigram, the fire trigram, you have solid line at the bottom and at the top, and in the middle you have the yin line. And that's how you know that that's the middle sister.
I see. Okay. It's coming together for me. It's very complex.
It is, and the thing is, the trigrams speak different to people. So a lot. You can really interpret a lot of messages within 3 lines.
Wow, that is so. It's really quite profound.
Yeah, and then to me, the trigram for the fire trigram represents a portal for joy, for higher frequency.
Ah, okay.
Because
I love that.
the Age of 9 itself is about joy. And the thing is, as the world gets more divided, it's actually more, it will be harder to stoke that inner joy. And especially with the Age of 9, it's a period about joy, but then joy itself is just becoming harder and harder to find. But then again, it's there. There are opportunities to practice joy.
Yeah, I think I think there's a big message in there, and I feel like you've been on a path of understanding that through the many different things that you've done to get to this point, and you're looking at what that joy is. And again, as I was reading about the deck, that was your message and your hope with creating this, is that through inner reflection, which cards can provide, right, we can work on that. Because
yes,
if you try to find that joy outside of yourself,
Right. It's harder.
It's elusive. It can be, except
Yeah.
for chocolate, of course.
Yeah. Well, but then if you know that chocolate gives you joy, that's really, that's inner joy.
When it's inside my belly, there's
Yes.
a lot of joy.
It becomes inner joy.
Right. But it's no, it's beautiful. I love that mission, and so I'd like to stay on this though a little bit more to understand what we're moving through, because one of the things that I always like to talk about in my interviews is where we're at and what experts like yourself, what they're seeing and how people are doing. How are we doing? And just just a chance to kind of come together and say, yes, it can be hard,
Yeah.
but stay the course
Right.
and don't let the outer crazy, you can still find inner joy. Like there's not I always try to explain this. I feel like there's no amount of sorrow or fear that's going to make up for, so you can't be sad enough about how bad things are out there. And I think especially in terms of, our climate.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why it's harder to find that joy, right? Because of what's happening outside, what's happening in the external world. It's just, especially to sensitive souls.
Yeah.
It's just
But we have
hard.
to keep trying.
Yes, yeah. And the thing is, with period 9, it also emphasizes acting from the heart, acting from love, from a place
so
of love.
exciting. This is so great.
And that's part of the message of the fire trigram. So when we are actually following the heart and following our passion or whatever excites the heart, that really stokes that inner joy. And that's something that a lot of us just have to really stay focused on instead of trying to prove the world that you're something that that you may not be. So,
Right. Well, and it kind of goes back to what do they say on the airplane? Like you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So doing this kind of work and having a deeper understanding of this ancient wisdom I think we have to fuel ourselves. Right. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to be outside. And the thing that I struggle with is that being selfish?
well,
Should I be doing more that's out there in the world? Should I be out there planting trees or, I don't know, helping children learn to read better or something like that? I mean, am I doing enough? So sometimes I struggle with that.
well, you do what's meant for you to do, when you're following your joy, and you could be planting trees, and that's following your joy for someone whose joy is to plant trees.
Feeding the hummingbirds. So I appreciate that because it's very interesting to talk about. Because I follow a lot of maybe the Mayan calendar or the yuga cycles that you hear in Vedic traditions. So it's interesting to see how what the Chinese astrology is also showing us, and it's aligning beautifully.
And one thing about the fire trigram that I'm very excited about, because it relates to middle sister, which in the modern world translates to middle-aged women. It's basically, it highlights the rise of feminine power.
Okay.
And you don't have to be a woman to do this. You just have to be in touch. You can be any gender you like. You just have to be in touch with the divine feminine within you.
Right.
And also about light. So we'll see more people getting into energy healing, and just light workers.
That. Yeah.
So that will be more and more common. And also, the fire trigram is about basically the fire element is fire element radiates, right? And fire element is it's basically, it will take us into different realms. So this is the age, the next 20 years, just of artificial intelligence. I mean, not that. I mean,
There's no. I mean, it's there.
Just,
it's been around already. It's not like it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just gonna be. It's just gonna be much easier for people to hop in and out of different realms. So like AI, virtual reality, and the real world. I think the challenge is to stay in the real world, right?
Well, but then we also know about the different dimensions, right?
Yeah.
So we've always, we talk about the 3D, 4D, 5D,
right. And
an
easier.
understanding around that too. So that's, it's very esoteric, and yet this ancient
Yeah.
wisdom is definitely aligning with other things that I
Yeah.
hear about, ascension theories, the age of Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
That I know from my yoga studies. So the Aquarian age. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and then
it's
I
really
see,
exciting.
I see the broken line in the middle as a portal, because you can see the three
Ooh.
lines as you can see the three lines like let's say we're so the middle line, the portal is where we are, so we can either go down or go up right now in the next 20 years in the age of 9. And it's easy to go down, but there's still a way to go up. So I'm talking about frequency. So
Okay.
we can feel down, right? But then we can still stoke our inner joy and then raise our vibration and go up into basically just ascension.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
I mean, that's the choice.
it's a choice.
It is
and it's
the
self-work.
choice.
Yeah.
And what
a lot of self-work.
Repeat, what did you say? It's work?
Self-work. Yeah, it's a lot of self-work because
I mean,
it's harder. Well, it's like gravity. It's harder to raise your vibration
elevate. Yeah.
than to go down.
Then
I mean, it's
just
just
sink.
it can be really easy to sing and not work your way up, but then to actually work your way up, you really need to stoke that inner joy just to keep
Thank
practicing
you.
it.
That's so great. Now, so let's bring it back to the cards. Like, let's just talk about how people could get into a rhythm with this. Like, you mentioned about how some of the elements, including the moon, may or may not work in regards to this. But what would your hope be with somebody? I mean, might they pull a daily card to learn and be looking for a trend? Why don't you also talk to us a little bit about formulating the right question, because you
Yeah.
have given us such an opportunity here, like you say. It's like stay strong, stay steadfast. So bringing it back to the deck, what's a good practice with this to help people learn and stay uplifted? No fear, love.
Yeah. So you can either do a one spread reading for daily guidance in the morning, or whenever you feel that you can sit down and find stillness. So that's always a good practice to have, just to pull a card. And that's one way to use the oracle. But then you can also use the oracle to study the energy of the day, or just pick a card that's the day pillar of the day.
Okay.
Because these pillars contain information, energetic information on the day. So
So the pillars are the animals? Is that
the
right?
pillars are each pillar is a combination of
Okay.
of the 5 elements so let's say the fire monkey, which is the day pillar of today. So today is the day of the fire monkey. So the fire itself is the heavenly stem, and I like to call it the heavenly frequency, because this is basically where young fire, which is the fire monkey, is a young sign. The young fire provides us guidance for the day, and this is actually it's the sun. Young fire
Yeah.
is the element of joy, of light. So, and then we're talking about light, so we are
Yeah.
so we are kind of we're going with the theme of the day in terms of our talk. And the monkey is the animal sign, which I call the earthly branch. So if you see the entries in the guidebook, there are messages from heaven and messages from earth.
Yeah.
So for messages from heaven, that's the message from the fire element, which is in the heavenly frequency, whereas messages from earth come from the animal sign, from the elements that are in the animal sign.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's another way you can use the oracle, is to just to pick the card of the day.
Like the energy of the day.
Energy of
or
the day, and you can take a look at it, and if you see the fire monkey, it says time to embrace change, and you see the crossroads behind the monkey. So it's not a really, it's basically you see the sun behind and the rainbow, so you see joy. There is joy if you take a risk, right? But then the monkey really can't do anything because there's fire where, if he goes back, there's fire there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the energy of the day, basically.
Okay.
It's not very, it's not as smooth, I would say, because you can see it from the expression of the monkey. It's neither happy or
It can be changeable, maybe, right?
yeah.
With fire, fire's transformation.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of transformation, yeah.
Yeah, so that's another way you can pick a card, or you can also pick a card that calls to you. Let's say like the wood dragon. or if a snake card calls to you. But but for me, all the dragon cards contain the dragon power, which helps us gain confidence. I think dragons are just the most confident sign in Chinese astrology, and it's also the one that's most revered in the culture. Like dragon years are just the most anticipated year in the Chinese culture. So.
Oh my God. I'm just like, I can't even imagine what we have ahead of us in 2024 and being a dragon year as well. So I feel like we can't wrap this call without talking about the Tao a little bit, because we've got yin and yang and then the Tao within the Tao, right?
Yes.
So please explain it to me. Talk to me a little bit about your understanding of the Tao.
Well, the Tao it's a paradox, and it basically, the word itself means the way.
Okay.
So it's the way, it's the void. I mean, it's the Tao itself gives birth to yin and yang. So in the origin, there's the Tao, and it's always there. And I always see the Tao as basically the Force, like Star Wars.
Yeah, sure. That helps. That's a great reference we all love.
Yes. And it's relatable, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the source, basically, a source of all things, the origins of all things, and then it's also the way. So if you're in the flow of life, if you're following where life takes you, you're following the Tao, basically. And the Tao itself gives rise to yin and yang, and yin and yang gives rise to the 5 elements.
Okay.
Is that
So the changeability, the flow that we talked about, there's the constant of the yin and yang, and then the 5 elements are the result of that change.
Yeah, so the 5 elements are the result of the yin and yang just continuing to evolve, basically, like changing and turning. That's the 5 elements. And the Tao, and the thing about the Tao, like I say, it's a paradox. It's simple, and yet it's very complicated. So you can either, you can understand it just by intuition, or you can really go deep and keep understanding it.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is
part of the studies.
that's
possible.
That's just the way the Tao is, and so and this is what I look at with the cards. So the cards themselves, the oracle itself, can be really easy to use. You can just use it, and then just look at at the simplest, you can just look at the theme, right? Like a horse is about effortless vitality.
Right. And it's funny, you asked me if I had pulled a card, and it's funny because I shuffled this deck a little bit when you first arrived in the studio, but this card is still here. It was the fire sheep.
Okay.
That I had pulled. And so it says, clear your blockage. And I felt like that was enough of a message for me right then and there. Like I didn't consult
right.
the
and
book.
That's the Tao
I'm like,
talking. Right.
Because I told you, I was saying I was a little clunky this morning. So I'm like, I don't know if is this a good time to do my first reading? And then all of a sudden this card was just sitting on the floor, separate from the deck. Why? I don't know. I was on my yoga mat when I was doing the initial shuffle and going through the cards. And then this one sat separately, clear your blockage. So that is a message that I'm pulling for all of us. And then I'm going to ask you to pull a card, but before you do, and for the audience, so whenever you're listening, and it's going to apply, but before you do that, you give an example of the Qi ritual, working with your energy around your center. Right? And it says to invoke the Tao.
Yeah.
So I thought as we spoke about the Tao, and I'm sitting here with my legs crossed, not cool, ankles crossed.
Well, you kind of want to have your.
So we want to be.
You want to sit. You want to sit with basically, you want to sit or you can stand. Actually, I like doing it standing, or I like sitting on the floor, and the yoga mat's perfect.
Even better. So do it standing, but we're going to be seated here for the purposes of this YouTube channel.
And you want to have your feet connected
to
the earth, so that way you're more grounded. And then you start warming your palms.
So rub your palms together.
And then you just rub it, and then you just start separating the palms. And can you feel the energy already? Just kind of tingles, just.
I do.
Yeah.
So we've got it in front of our solar plexus, right? So are the center...
Which is the middle Dongtian, yeah.
Fantastic. So we've got our hands, our palms facing each other as we feel the basically the orb of energy.
Yeah, and actually, well, this is the lower Dongtian, and then you want to keep feeling the energy.
Okay, so you move your hands a little bit, so you're stoking it again.
Yeah, and then your hands should be kind of like very soft, like everything in the
relaxed. Yeah,
yeah, like relaxed kind of cup.
I had my hands a little rigid, and that comes from, I think, my Kundalini yoga work. We tend to be work with angles, but this is different.
Yeah, because everything, the chi is effortless, so you want to create an effortless kind of energy. Okay. So once you get comfortable with this, then you want to start rotating your hands. So like imagine a ball of chi. So you're holding an invisible ball. That's a chi. And you can put intention into the ball basically. So like right now I'm imagining my chi ball as a light, like a golden light. So it's a ball of golden light. So yeah.
Fantastic. And I'm going to let you kind of have your little focus on a message for our audience tonight.
Yeah, so once you have the ball, then you just want to put your hands over the deck and to invoke the Tao, and you can ask for guidance. So I'm asking for guidance. Just for anyone who's watching this, then this is your guidance. And I will pull just one card. I will do the one with the Tao spread.
We're doing a little shuffle here. I realize it's like, dead air. So I will say a little something while Vicki is doing the shuffle and getting the card. We were both so in the Tao. I mean, we were.
And you know what? This is so interesting because it's water pick, which is being in the flow. So we're talking about the Tao, and then this is the water pick card that comes up, and it's about being in the flow. And the water pick itself is a very interesting pillar because it's the last of the 60 pillars.
No kidding. Wow, that's pretty profound.
Yeah, so it has all the wisdom of the prior pillars, and then being yin water, double yin water pillar, because the pick is also a yin water sign. It carries the wisdom of yin water. So if you're watching this is about finding wisdom in the quiet and being in the flow. So, and you can only find wisdom when you're still, basically.
Yes. That is what a beautiful, perfect read for all we've spoken about, and really applicable. And for, I feel, our audience that is watching the show too, for that transformation.
Yeah, and the water pick, actually the month of water pick itself is coming in November.
Oh.
So so that's I think that's a month to watch out.
Scorpio
this
season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also a water sign.
Yeah.
But mystically so, right?
Yeah.
Deep. A deep time of year.
Deep and plenty of wisdom underneath. So you just have to find that wisdom underneath.
Yeah, very much so. Vicki, this has been profound. Thank you so much. I wish you every success with this beautiful deck that is coming out on Hay House and will be available beginning October 10th. 2023.
Yes.
You've got some events happening in Los Angeles as well. So if you happen to be watching this in the next few weeks, Vicki will be at Mystic Journey on bookstore in Santa Monica on October 15th. And then you have an event at, I think you're going to have to help me with the name of it, but it is on October 22nd.
Yeah.
And is it?
It's at Vitello's in Studio City.
Vitello's in Studio City. And that's also going to be a beautiful event. I'm sorry I'm going to miss that one, but I hope to see you at Mystic Journey.
Well, I will actually, the one at Vitello's, I'll be doing readings.
Oh, really?
At their upstairs lounge. So I'm very looking forward to that.
Oh my gosh,
that
is
Mystic
so
Journey,
cool.
I'll be talking more and sharing how to read the oracles.
Fantastic. Well, it's been a true pleasure, and I hope I invite you back for future episodes because I want to talk about feng shui.
I'm looking forward to that.
Vicki is also a feng shui expert. She's a realtor and works with that. So I think that's just so perfect. So we purposefully kept it to astrology and the cards and those aspects of it so that we can talk again in the future.
I'm looking forward.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you,
Cheers,
Bonnie.
everybody. I'm so glad that you've been listening. I really love this episode. And we are here. Truth Be Told is Transformation is sister show to Tony Sweet's Truth Be Told, which is on every Friday live at 3 p.m. Pacific. So do tune in and ask Tony lots of hard questions and connect with our community. We are on the Club Paranormal Network. Yes, we have got a new name and a new game, and we really invite everybody to share what we're doing here. We're just, as Vicki said, it's intense times, but we have to keep light and share the light. So I am Bonnie Burkert, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm very grateful to do so. Thank you for the listens, the likes, the shares, and until the next time, shine on.